Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Big Blonde and Beautiful, the podcast. If you're new here, my name is Karolina, and each episode I discuss a new piece of media with fat representation in it, and ultimately decide if it's positive or negative. This episode, we're going to be discussing the movie What's Eating Gilbert Grape. But before we jump into that, I'm very excited to introduce my guest for this week, Hoja Lopez. So in case you don't know who she is, she's a Venezuelan comedian, director, musician, and writer based in Los Angeles, California. She's a former writer and producer for NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, the Sarah Silverman podcast, and Funny 'Cause It's True with Elise Myers, which I love Elise. She's so funny. She currently works as a writer and producer on Wiser Than Me, hosted by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Is that how you say it?
So it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Dreyfus, I gotcha. In addition to her work in podcasting, she develops her own projects, including Gay News, a satirical queer web series, and Friends with Benefits. She's also a member of, and I don't know how to pronounce that.
Escándalo.
Thank you, because that would not have been what came out of my mouth.
Okay, wait, what would you have said? What do you think you would have said?
Now my brain's like, oh
Now
yeah.
it's going to take Escándalo.
Yeah.
Escándalo.
Yeah, it would have sounded very Midwestern. It really would have. Digital and Sketch Comedy Collective. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm obsessed with this movie, so I'm like, I need to talk about it. So this is perfect.
But yes, before we get into that, so I wanted to learn a little bit more about you. So when did you know that you wanted to become a writer?
I still don't know if I want to be a writer. I'm like, writing is like wrestling down oh, can I cuss here?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, writing is like wrestling a fucking bear down to the ground. It really is like, if you had to say like, I'm going to write for 1 hour, I spend about 40 minutes of that 1 hour trying to write, and then about 20 minutes actually sitting down and writing. So, I've developed a kind of like tolerance towards writing, and then I also really enjoy collaborative writing. So if it's just me by myself in a room, like, take me downtown and shoot me, because I really don't. It's very hard to sit down and do it by oneself, but I just really enjoy the writer's room process and a collaborative process of making something with somebody else. So writing is sort of like the means to an end for me. But I enjoy like story, and I do love joke writing and punching up, and there's a ton of aspects to it that I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. But the blank page is it's a foe to anyone.
It's daunting. Yes.
Oh, it's very daunting. Yes. So much fun to punch up something that somebody else has written, and so much work to write it yourself. But yes, I've enjoyed it, and it's gotten me really cool and interesting places. And I never graduated college, and so the whole idea of like somebody paying me to do, English writing reports when I have absolutely no instruction in how to do it is. Thank you.
He said, yeah. And you know what? You don't have to go to college, because I have a degree in media, and let me tell you what I've done with that degree so far is nothing, unfortunately.
Oh, shit. So yeah, it's I came from a really super academic family, so so for a really long time I was like, oh, I'm a fuck, I just didn't, I couldn't hack at college or whatever, and so but ended up in, I feel like, the same rooms anyways as if I had gone to Princeton or Harvard. So it's like, to me, it's a miracle, but it's also kind of proved it to myself, really, that I really didn't need it to do the things that I wanted to do. So
yes.
Yeah.
And so how has your experience as a queer fat Latina shaped how you write?
When you sent me this this question a little bit, because, for the people listening at home, a little behind the scenes, Karolina is so thoughtful and is like, hey, I might ask you these things. And it set me in a little bit of I wouldn't say a spiral necessarily, but like,
no,
it just reminded me of some stuff that I've been thinking about, that is like, and this is going to sound so cheesy, but like, I'm very often alone in every room that I'm in. There's nobody else like me in any of the rooms that I work in, or even, just moving to LA or whatever. I usually will, go into 1,000 different spaces, and there's really, no one that looks like me. And I'm
Yeah.
usually the fattest girl in the room. Like, even if I go to fat events, I am the fattest girl in the room. So my vantage point feels like, in some ways, like I'm at the back of the line and I'm looking at everybody else kind of ahead of me as a fat, queer Latina or whatever.
Yeah.
But the key of the matter is that I'm kind of thriving and I'm kind of like very happy and I'm very like, you know, exploring and doing new things. And I'm sure, you know, fucked up in all the same ways that everyone else is. But like, that identity is like, I think puts me at like the highest mountain to look at everything from. Like, I feel like I can be very inclusive and I really understand, you know, people's experiences of pain and of, you know, isolation, like all those things like exist in my life or I've worked through in some way or another. And so, I mean, I know this is so cheesy, but it's like, it's my superpower. Like all those little, you know, words and that word salad about me. I just feel, I feel like I deserve everything. No matter what the words say, like I can get it. So I don't know. It's, I think that each one of those things gets broken down in a really specific way. Like, you know, with queer, it's like, you know, I've been married for how many years? 4 years. So my partner's in the other room. I've been married for 4 years to my partner and then together for 10. And that is its own immense universe and journey. And then there's the Latina part, which is like, I think now the proudest one of all of those things, honestly. I'm from Venezuela. Shout out tequeño, shout out arepas, shout out air fryers. That's our people. It's the Venezuelan people's oven. But yeah, I don't feel like it's held me back from any of the things that I've wanted in my life. So,
you feel like it's helped you have a perspective, probably different than a lot of other people.
For sure. I write from that POV. I talk to people from that POV. I oftentimes will encounter people who like are really dealing with like a ton of body shame and a ton of body issues. And while I have so much of those, I do feel like I've like worked through them in so many ways and feel really strong and in operating how I'm operating. And not to pivot towards the movie again, but like something that I love about this freaking movie is that like I was looking it up. And I think she is the fattest character or woman we've ever seen on television, ever.
Probably.
Because I was looking and I was like, well, Chrissy Metz is really fat and she is on This Is Us and she's not as fat as this character and this woman on this. Then I was looking up I was just looking up all these different characters and I go, I think this is the fattest woman on television and on TV. Like, I think it's the fattest character that's ever been represented. And that's why I have to talk about her because I feel like that sometimes, like the fattest girl in the room. And she is such a different depiction. Just to go back to my identity was like her life is so like what people think everybody who are at her weight should be or is some kind of like, tragedy, grief journey and all of that. And the reality is it probably actually can look a little bit more like me, So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So like you said, we're talking about What's Eating Gilbert Grape. So I'm going to give a little synopsis for the people in case they haven't watched it, which I do recommend watching it. It's currently for free on YouTube. So I don't know when people are listening to this episode, but as of recording it, it's free on YouTube. Okay. So What's Eating Gilbert Grape follows a weary young grocery store clerk, Gilbert, who is trapped in a dull Iowa town and burdened by the weight of his highly dysfunctional and dependent family. The film explores the complex dynamics and internal struggles of the Grape family as they prepare for Arnie's 18th birthday. So that's a very bare bones of what this film is about. So you already said that you are obsessed with this movie, which is why you chose it. Why are you so why do you love it so much?
Yeah. Well, listen, Juliette Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio in his Academy Award nominated role, Johnny Depp, John C. Reilly, Mary Steenburgen, like this movie is stacked in an insane way. And this is at the fucking like height of the Johnny Depp, like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like this is right before Titanic, but literally it's right after the movie that Leonardo DiCaprio did with Robert De Niro. And I don't
remember.
This was my fantasy when this came out, was I want to be in a movie with Johnny Depp and with Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
Yeah.
But the role that I could have gotten was the fat mom. You know what I mean? So there is this level of, she is a real actress. She's a real fat actress at that time. And she's in a fucking movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Johnny Depp. And there's something about that is, I mean, it's mind blowing in a lot of different ways, because it's just, fat women don't get opportunities to be in movies. And of course, it's sort of the long suffering mother and not even anybody who has any kind of like sexuality or anything like that. But there is something about this movie that feels like it wouldn't get made again. I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, just the premise of it is like, who's going to make that movie now? You know?
I think it would be made very differently, in some ways good and in some ways not so great. Like, I feel like with the autistic representation with Arnie, I feel like they'd be more likely to cast someone who actually is autistic. But then with Mama, I feel like they'd be more likely to pull like the Whale type of thing, where they just put like a slightly bigger actress in a bat suit. So, like, in one way, we're like, I mean, Leonardo did a good job.
What is it, buddy?
I killed him. I killed him, Gilbert. I killed him.
I know, buddy. I know.
I think, but I've heard it's very hard. I was like trying to do research about it, because I obviously the autistic community, their opinion on that is the most important opinion. And I was like, what are they saying? And it's very 50-50 split. Like, some people commend him for the portrayal and others are like, only autistic individuals should play. It's hard to form an opinion when the people whose opinion is the most important aren't even sure what the answer should be. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about this, and after I saw that movie, I thought Leo did such an amazing job. And it's like, I have two movies in which I believe, you're not allowed, but you did a good job. And that is Tropic Thunder and Leonardo DiCaprio and Who's Eating Gilbert Grape. I go, you're not allowed to do that, and that's wrong, and that's fucked up. And also, you did an amazing job. And so where do we live? Where do I live? I truly don't have any other movie where this is the truth, but I just think Leo was incredible in this. Like, and this is the truth, is that I don't know how you can depict someone with that level of, and I don't even know if that was autism in particular. It feels like it could have been a slew of other things as well. They never really specify.
Yeah.
If you are trying to depict people who maybe don't have the capacity to like act or be in structured environments that aren't just focused on them, where they have to be a part of something else, I don't know how you depict that without an actor that can fit within the parameters of like a movie making environment. So I think a lot of things are true at the same time for that role with Leo, but I mean,
I think gray area.
Oh yeah, for sure, gray area.
But I do think he did a great job. Like, I think this is probably one of, if not the favorite movie of mine that he's in. Yeah. So there you go.
No Shutter Island.
I haven't seen Shutter.
No,
I haven't seen either of those.
No, Jake.
I haven't seen that.
Titanic.
I have seen that one. Okay. You're like naming all the iconic ones, and I'm like, nope.
This is, I think, my favorite Leo DiCaprio movie ever. It's so good, and he's so good in it. I mean, yeah, I think that I agree with you. I definitely think he did a great job. And, it's so interesting, the idea of there are two kind of marginalized identities in this movie that converge with each other, which is like Darlene Cates or Mama, and then him at the same time, which makes this movie, I think that's what makes this movie so different and so fascinating, is like, not only are we reacting to like an able world's view of fatness, but also of like I mean, I don't even know what I would call what Leo has.
Neurodivergence.
Yeah, neurodivergence or just kind of a differently abled person. So it is like a convergence of a lot of different things that I feel like you don't see without some kind of like, you know, like disclaimer now. Like now you'd have to have this whole apparatus around it to make sure it's being done right.
Something else that I really like about movies, particularly, I feel like before the 2010s, I would say, is like, I feel like I'm watching real people. Whereas now I feel like there's just like, it's not the same feeling. And I don't know if it's some weird nostalgia or if it's just like we've gone so far away from portraying real people that it just doesn't feel like that anymore. But I really appreciate that about this movie. Like, I feel like we're seeing a real small town and a real family.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of movies in the early 2000s and late 90s that feel they don't feel as glossy. They don't feel like they're trying to search for a very specific emotion. They allowed movies to be a lot more like slice of life, you know, back then. And there was this feeling of like not a ton of urgency, not a ton of like, I don't know. They sort of let movies breathe a little bit more.
Yeah.
I also think that, you know, just the way that our cameras are kind of glossified now, everything has this very like filtered
like a sheen. Yeah.
Whereas before they really kind of didn't wear as much makeup, were allowed to just have regular fucking hair. Also, isn't Juliette Lewis so beautiful in this film? So beautiful, like that short crop back hair and almost like that matte face with just like a big dark lip. That feels really like, really early 2000s too.
She's a manic pixie dream girl. I saw that was how she was described.
Yes.
She's nomadic. Give me 1 second. Now it's my turn to be like, hold on. My cat is trying to get in the room, and I try to keep him out because he likes to get his tail in front of the camera, but right now he's like freaking out.
Okay, truly take your time.
Echo. Come on in. Really? I was going to say. Okay. He's in the room, so we'll hope he leaves the
Come on in, honey.
Come on in. Just behave. Okay. Okay. But anyway. I'm like, where were we? Oh yeah, Manic Pixie Dream Girl. She's so good. And didn't her and Johnny Depp date?
I don't know. I mean, she seems like this type, honey, because it's this sort of like very thin, like waifish, gorgeous, sort of like ingenue, big eyes.
Winona Ryder. Like they
for a second, I was like, was Winona Ryder in this? Because I genuinely think that they could have interchanged those actresses at that point, and the effect would have been very similar. But I mean.
If this was after their breakup, maybe, and they were like, we can't. But I know that I read a thing that, who was it? Corey, one of the Coreys.
Yeah.
It might have been Feldman.
Yes. The I wear my sunglasses at night guy.
Yeah. He was considered for the role of Arnie, but Johnny was like, no, I don't like working with him. He's like high all the time. No. And I also heard that Johnny didn't really love Leo at first either. But came around. I don't know. He was like, I'm very particular, apparently.
Okay, Johnny Depp? Jesus Christ. You know, it's so interesting to think of Johnny at that time because I can't embody that movie and watch it and forget that Johnny Depp then is Johnny Depp now. Like that's the same person, you know? Like I can see him in older movies and I could be like, that's the Johnny Depp that I know.
That's the one.
But that's not Johnny Depp, honey. Johnny Depp is a freak.
He is. At first, like, I feel like the first half of his celebrity, the freak, is kind of like, it's giving, but now it's kind of like...
I'm a freak. Ooh, I'm a little freak. The girlies love me, and I love the girlies. And now it's like...
Yeah. There's no words, it's just violent.
Yeah. You need a guest house in Lake Como, and
it's just violent head nodding.
Yes.
That's all we can say.
Out of here, Johnny Depp. Oh, God.
Oh, my goodness. But so let's focus on Mama because she's the fat representation in this film. This movie, again, very gray. It kind of goes between humanizing her and then being like insensitive to her as well. I feel like Gilbert is the main person that like mocks her for her weight.
Sure. Well, and I guess for context too, it's like her character is sort of like the mother of the family that lives in this dilapidated house, and she's the mom of Arnie and Johnny Depp's character, as well as 2 other sisters. So there's like 4 kids in the house. And, you know, she essentially is like, lives on the couch and is very much like a pretty stereotypical representation of like somebody who's been immobilized by their fatness. I saw a lot of like comparisons with Brendan Fraser's The Whale and with her. Like it is that character, you know? It's sort of like, to me, the fat person that everybody sees in their head. They see, people see every fat person in one way or another, like that character. It's sort of like the ultimate villain, the ultimate fat archetype. And again, as we say, maybe like the fattest person that's ever been, you know, depicted in movie or television. But, yeah, she's like such an incredible character. I went and looked her up, Darlene Cates, because I remember when she passed away. So she passed away in 2017. And I just remember hearing in the grapevine, like, oh, the fat lady from Gilbert Grape died. And I went and I looked her up. And I remember so the way that they found her was she was on an episode of Sally Jesse Raphael's, which was like a huge like 90s like talk show. So it's like what, you know, Dr. Oz or Oprah or whatever would have been at that time. Exactly. And
the eye roll at Dr. Oz.
Yes. No. What's going on with the men is the question, you know? But she was on this episode, and the episode was called Too Fat, I Can't Leave My House. And so that's literally, she had never acted before, and that's how she got cast on What's Eating Gilbert Grape. And that really blew my mind. It was this like, there are no actresses that size. There are no people you can go to a casting like director to and say, hey, I need someone that's this big, you know? And just the casting in and of itself really blew my mind. But what about your thoughts on, like, what were your thoughts when you first saw her, when you first by the way, had you watched this movie before now?
Yes, I have.
Okay. How long ago did you watch it?
That's a great question. I'd say probably like 10 years ago was my first time watching it.
And how old were you 10 years ago? I'm trying to get the lay of the land.
Like 15, 16.
Okay. So this came out like, I wonder if it came out before you were born?
It did. It came out 7 years before I was born.
Okay.
In 93.
That's so crazy because I was born in 86 because I'm what? A woman. Okay. I'm a lady. I'm
just a child, honestly, and I feel that way.
In a good way. If you're lucky, you'll get here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The luckiest people get to 40. But it is really interesting because I watched it, maybe not when it came out, but probably around that time. And it was really, I can't remember how it penetrated like my teenage brain or my young brain, but tell me about the first time that you watched it then. Do you remember anything?
I do. I honestly remember seeing Mama and being like, I hate to say it, but kind of being like, that's my nightmare.
Yeah.
Is to be like immobilized because of my size.
Were you fat when you watched it? Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000%. I've never been considered thin ever in my life. And so
I've had little phases. This is my fat journey. You know, and I didn't start really thin, but yes. But I hear you. So you saw her and you said, this is a cautionary tale for me. This is my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember feeling that exactly. But I remember being more judgmental of her because I wasn't fat at that time. So, and maybe I was, but maybe not like less than mid-sized, just big boned, you know? And I really never thought that could be me. You know what I mean? I didn't see myself in her, but now I do. Now when I watch the movie again, which now is the first time I've watched it in a long time, I go, okay, that's the cautionary tale for me. And I do, and that is tea. Like we can both feel that and also know that there's a real person inside of that tale and inside of that nightmare. But okay, so and then when you watched it again now, what's the effect it has on you in terms of like how you see yourself? Like how does it make you see yourself?
I still, obviously no one wants to be immobile. Like I don't think any person in the world would be like, yeah, I would love to never be able to move again.
Maybe like a lot of people pretend they want to be a baby, but then
you don't want to be a baby. But it's just, it's still so complicated sometimes because, again, I never want to get to that place where I'm immobile, but also there are other things that make you that way, not just fatness. And I definitely feel like it was kind of a cautionary tale in the way that they were portraying it, but also the reason why she is that way is so complex. Like, it's very much because of how she has grieved her husband, who trigger warning, and I mean, these are all spoilers, we're not worried about spoilers, but he commits suicide like a year after Arnie's born. Is that when?
Yeah, so it's I think so, like when he's young, but I mean, it definitely explains like her body through trauma and that suicide and depression and kind of collapse. But like, I don't know, it's so interesting because even when you try to explain fatness through tragedy or psychology, it doesn't feel like enough. To me, being fat and that fat or this fat, because I would be considered super fat technically, you know.
Same.
But to a certain extent, like being that fat, yes, it deserves humanity, but my fatness, I don't think it's because of trauma. I think it's a complex vortex of so many different things. And I hate it when it gets explained via one thing. You know, you don't need a sad backstory to deserve kind of humanity. And not to say that I think this film can't really even imagine a fat woman without one. You know, it can't even fathom. It feels like her being that fat needs to mean something. And ultimately, it's the anchor to the tragedy of the whole family for the whole movie, which is nuts. You know?
She literally, they're like, she was once the prettiest girl in the town, Gilbert says in one of his voiceovers, and they pan to a picture of her pre the suicide. And then it's just like, I feel like they had to do that because they also knew that if they didn't give her such a sad backstory, which people still probably did, people would just write her off and judge her immediately. And I'm sure that definitely still happened. But they're like trying to make people empathize with her. And yeah, it's a very complicated film. There's a lot of symbolism in this film too. I was like, oh, I bet that there's like, her weight is obviously the prolonged bereavement, and she's like stuck in this house. And you kind of said a minute ago, like an anchor. I feel like she is the anchor holding all of her kids to this spot. And also, Arnie is very much a mirror for the family, because there are many times in the film where he'll like repeat something and you can tell they're also uncomfortable. Like, he's like, dad's dead. Or he says a lot like, we're not going anywhere, Gilbert. And you can tell that Gilbert's like, fuck, we're not going anywhere. Yeah. And so Arnie's very much just like a mirror. He's just being him. He's not thinking about all that. But yeah, he exposes the family's codependence and flaws and all those things. So I think it's a very interesting film to like really deep dive into, which is also a book.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think it is. Let me double check because
go look it up, Carolina.
Yeah.
Look. I'm curious to get back to that idea of like worst nightmare and us and like seeing ourselves reflected in Mama. And like, I do have mobility issues, you know, at 40, I had knee surgery when I was 23, and that knee still has issues with it. And my body and that knee have in kind of a dual way, made it so that my left ankle, which is the opposite of my knee, has essentially like constantly like made up for my knee over the years. And so I have a really messed up left ankle that is hard to walk on consistently, and my knee is hard to walk on consistently. And, even like if I'm on a floor basis, like if I'm going straight from laying down to standing up, that is hard for me. It's not easy. So I think there are like active, like mobility issues that, I really have to work through, and I have to be like vulnerable in front of people when I don't always want to be. And I have to, be in situations where I have to kind of work through what it means to live in a really fat body. And there is a part of me that struggles with it. And then there's also a part of me that goes, yeah, this is my fucking reality. And I'm going to hold my head up high no matter what situation I enter. And my journey to help that or to remedy that is my own, and it's on my own timeline and at my own pace and with my doctors, my therapist, and all the things that I'm, handling. But when I see her, I really see someone who is like suffering, but also incapable of doing the work for herself that it takes to even step one of psychologically like caring about herself and loving herself enough to even be able to talk about it too. And so I hesitate to consider her the nightmare in so many ways because I identify so much with her. I really feel like I understand her.
I feel
maybe
like
not the sadness, but definitely like the mobility stuff.
And you bringing that up makes me think, also rewatching it now at this age. So I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And like, it first started, of course, it took a while to figure out what was going on, but it just started like with random pain in my hands. And then he came up here, say hello.
Come on in, Mr. Kitty Cat.
And then say goodbye.
My dog was like, are you talking to me with that voice?
Is it me? But, like, by the time that I finally got diagnosed, I was like practically immobile. I don't know. I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I was still going to work. Like, I could barely move.
We go through a lot of pain at times as fat people. That is a real thing. Like and it's hard because you don't want to like, it's not like you're giving in by saying, yeah, I'm hurting to this slew of fucked up people who are like, being fat is the worst. And you're going to, you know what I mean? Like we toe a very narrow line between letting that stuff penetrate because a lot of it is bullshit. And then the parts of it that do feel true to us and that do feel like, you know what, there's certain aspects of this where I don't feel good about being fat in a fat body. It hurts. And then there are also so much messaging that is stupid and fucked up and doesn't make sense. And part of the difficulty of being fat is having to sort through that messaging to know what is true and what for you and what doesn't,
That is so true. It is so complex. So like my mental health during that time was horrible. I had worked so hard on my body image and I'd gotten to such a great place. And then like all of this started happening. And obviously like knowing now what it is genetic. It's hereditary. It has nothing to do with my weight. It can be exacerbated sometimes by weight, but it's just like, it kind of all boils down to you have to figure out what's best for you, which is so hard with what you said, like so many different messages coming at you. And you have to figure out what ones are true and more importantly, what ones are true for you. And it's very complex. And I'm sure that I'm sure she doesn't like the way that she's living.
No.
She doesn't leave the house.
Yeah. And at the end of the movie, she literally says, I know I'm a burden, like she feels that way. She feels like the anchor. She feels like a burden. But she also has way fucking less tools than you and I have been able to have, which aren't even that many. But our ability to talk to each other about it, like even just fat liberation, fat positivity, fat neutrality, or body neutrality, all of these movements exist. They don't exist in a vacuum. We're affected by them in some way, and they become a part of our psyche. It's why they're so important and why they need to continue happening in a lot of different ways, and they're going to ebb and they're going to flow. Duh. As we know, but
as we have seen,
yes, but there's a level of like, she didn't get to have those things. She didn't get to have even a small chorus of women online that are like having different ideas and prompting you to think about your fatness and your body in different ways. And about that intersection, especially for you, of like health and like an active tissue disorder that is preventing you from doing the things that you want to do with your body. It's like, that's so hard to fit into a narrative of fatness. It's very hard. And oftentimes you get that stuff intersecting with fatness and health and body. And that's fucking, you keep saying the word complex. Let's rename this podcast complex, honey. It's very difficult. And there's not very many of us that we can talk to about, which is why I wanted to do the show, because I wanted to talk to you about it. We don't get that very much,
And so far, really great conversations.
Okay,
and
I've been told the gift of gab.
The gift of gab. I love to yap. But also something else that I struggle with is even before and now knowing my diagnosis, like the stereotypes of like the lazy fat person is so like embedded in society. And there are times where like my body needs a break. You know, I just physically can't keep pushing myself to do something. And I really struggle with that because I'm like, I know I'm not a lazy person, and I'd never like to be perceived as something that I'm not. I feel like most people don't want to be perceived as something they're not. And it's so hard. And I feel like Mama is perceived in so many different ways, and some of them are accurate and some of them aren't. And it's just like, you know, she has to wade through all of this crap. And I do kind of, I hate it because I'm like, I hate when movies make us into like the pity character, but I do feel bad for her. Like she went through a lot, and I also feel bad for her kids because they've gone through a lot and they don't have that parental figure.
They're embarrassed and they're ashamed and they're apologizing for her, and there's no therapist, there's no work to be done to be okay. And so they are just like raw dogging this experience with no real ability or perspective on what's actually happening. I mean, that moment where, you know, she goes and picks up Arnie at the jail because he's been arrested, her son with the learning disabilities. And
no one's going to do a thing until you go and sit down outside.
Jerry! 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 Jerry, I've come for my son. I want my boy, Jerry.
But Bonnie, you have
my son! Give me my son! Sunshine, he's free. Oh, baby. Don't disappear like that anymore.
Okay.
Promise. Mom, you're free, baby. You're free. Let's go home.
First of all, they sort of frame it as this like very big act of bravery. In a lot of ways, you know that it is. And then in a lot of ways I go, but you're not allowed to call it. You know what I mean? Like I'm like defensive of her because this movie has the same gaze as the audience and as the town goer people. You know what I mean? The movie is in itself the eyes of the townspeople who come to make fun of her, who come to gawk at her, who come to look at her as like this freak, you know, coming down the stairs. And God, that moo with the fucking quilt over her shoulders and the like fucked up pants underneath. I mean, this is literally why I'm like one of the reasons that I do my hair every day and my makeup and I put on a nice outfit and I go out and I look and present a certain way. There is a real like, there's a real armor there and an effect of how people see you. And I, like you, Karolina, don't want to be perceived in any way except for
authentically,
the conversation that I have, the things that I'm saying. Stop perceiving me in any other way.
Or just stop perceiving me. That would be awesome too.
Actually, I love to be perceived. And this is the problem with introverts, Karolina. I love to be perceived. I go, let me go to the beach. I'm wearing a bikini. Fuck all of you. Like, I'm just like, I
definitely have those moments, but like majority of the time I'm like, don't look at me.
Introverts are people too. Inside,
and we are.
Yes,
and we are. But don't tell us that. But don't let us know.
Don't. Actually, don't speak to me. And maybe don't call me or text me. Maybe about 10, 12 years ago. I also, Karolina, have to remind you that I'm almost going to be 40 and that you're in your, you know, mid-20s, right?
Yeah.
And that I have gone through periods of my life where I was like essentially walking around in a burqa and like wearing tights to the beach and like really went through very hardcore periods of my life where I couldn't even think about that version of myself or the version of myself that I am now, you know? But maybe like 10 or 12 years ago, I can't remember what it was, but I heard a fat girl say, when I go to the beach, I'm there to experience it. The sand in my toes, the sun in my fucking face and on my body. I'm not there to be experienced by other people. And if you are constantly worrying about how you're being experienced, then you can't worry about how you're experiencing things. And boy, if I'm not anything but self-centered and focused on myself, I'm like, I just want to have a good time. I just want to feel good. And so it was a very like conscious decision to shift from what I think mama is in, which is like self-loathing and not really even being able to think through the reasons that you're acting the way that you're acting, and centering other people's view of her. That is such a painful place to be. But when she walks and gets Arnie, there's something more important, you know? And there's always something more important than hating on yourself and hiding yourself.
I think what's such an important thing to take away from this episode and this movie is like, even though she's having these issues because of her weight, I don't ever once think that she should be excluded from wearing the clothes she wants to wear, from traveling, from, you know, just doing things that every other person can do.
And if the world was set up to help her get through things and to move along, she would be able to join the world. I mean, it's always the thing of like, the thing that hurts us the most isn't being queer, isn't being fat, isn't being whatever marginalized identity you are. It's literally the way the world is set up to exclude you from things and the way that people treat you. That is the ostracization. Yes. That's not a word that I think I've ever said before. Ostracization. We'll call it that.
And you did it so good. It's kind of like this idea of, oh, if you're, you know, feeling this way about your body or like change it, lose the weight, do this, do that. Like, that's not solving the issue. The issue for most people is not their body. It is how they are treated because of their body, how society views them. So, like, losing weight, will it help you be treated better? Yeah. But is it going to help the big overall problem? No. So, you know, again, I've said, literally, you guys need to do a drinking game of every time I say complex, because it's very complex.
It is very complex. I'm also so emboldened by the fact that, like, when we really think about her, she was an actress. She became an actress. That's who Darlene Cates actually was. Mama was an actress who got cast in the cuntiest fucking movie of the summer, What's Eating Gilbert Grape. And she did I think she did like 4 or 5 movies after that. And I just think that is the actual takeaway of this, that even like what we consider to be like the fattest immobile woman got a role in a fucking movie with Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio. And she went on to have a small career and have a life. And we can do that too. Yeah. Like, I literally, when I see her, I don't think about her as the character. I think I'm in the entertainment business enough to go, that was an actress cast in a role and she fucking did an amazing job. And that's cool.
She did do an amazing job. And yeah, I agree with you. We have to look at the fact that she's an actual person. And I really do. My cat is rubbing his face against my
computer. We like it. Leave it. It's a fact. Karolina, actually, you know how like Ernie has Bert? You have your cat. Okay? You've got to make him a part of the show at this point.
He really wants to be a part of it.
Listen, this is all I'm saying.
I know. I edited him out every time and he just comes.
Leave him. We want him.
For this episode, I will leave him in. Okay. Echo, you get your wish. Yes. As he's still rubbing his face on my computer. I don't even remember what I was saying.
You were saying something smart and important. And
yeah, exactly.
In a beautiful way. That's what you were doing.
And then cats distract us. Live your life.
About
I don't know.
that Darlene Cates is an actress and that she was living her life and that she was a whole person.
Oh, I remember now. I was going to say, I really appreciate that they didn't try to do a fat suit. Like, they didn't try to do something like the whale.
Yes.
Because, I mean, obviously, if you are plus size or fat, you can, to a certain extent, relate to all fat people. But there is still, like, obviously everyone has different experiences with things. But I do appreciate that they found someone who actually embodied that character and wasn't made to put on a horribly uncomfortable fat suit, which was also, side note, something that really pisses me off is when actors are like being interviewed and they're like bragging about, oh, it was so horrible, it was so hot, and I had to be in 12 hours of makeup every day. And I'm like, you chose to do that. They could have just cast a fat person.
They
could have
just
said
cast
no.
A fat person. Yeah, the fat suit stuff is so, I mean, I'm sure that is ultimately like a central thing you guys talk about, you know, but like Darlene Cates was a fat woman. Like, her body was real. Her experience was lived. Like, I just think that, like, turning Charlie, which is the whale's character, into a costume, there's a kind of like, and I get it, you're an actor, you're performing suffering rather than any kind of authentic embodiment of it. There's an artificiality to that experience that, I mean, to me as a fat person is very visible. And I love Darren Aronofsky as a director, directed The Whale. Like there's a lot of things that I love about it. It's just when you're in the beginning of being represented in media, like Darlene Cates, like The Whale, we are only going to get this small sliver. But the world is going to be alive, hopefully, for 100 more years and 200 more years and 300 more years. And there is going to be a fat, cunty bitch and writer and director. And there is going to be media.
And they're out there right now.
And they're out there right now. And there's going to be some really incredible media in the future. But I am glad that we got representation. I know that it's not meant to be all of it. But in my mind, I go, well, this is just a little sliver of what's to come, you know?
It's a little something. Just shows you what else we could do.
What else we could do. Yeah.
Would you say that this is positive or negative fat representation? And it's so hard sometimes. Some of these movies you're like, boom, I know. And then other ones you're like, I don't.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just moving here. It's so complicated and complex.
Yes. Big shot.
I think, there's some fundamental harm there. I think she exists to generate the conditions for Gilbert's story. She exists to create the story around Gilbert. It's not her own arc, And when you have something where it's not her, you get this. You don't get what you need, really. And I think that in the case for Bad Rep, it's like this kind of like trapped inside of her body sort of language and this kind of bravery reaction. I think there's a level of like her body is just framed as the problem. And as soon as she dies and the house is on fire, the problem ends. And that doesn't sit right with me, that is, if you just got rid of her, then they could all be free.
I literally was about to be like, wow, it really is like the second that this quote unquote weight is gone from their lives, they're free. Gilbert's free to leave. He's, all these different things. And that is kind of crappy. Yeah.
So I would say, but then there's this other side of the reason why this is complex, which is that actress is real. And that character is real, and that matters. She brings something to that role that really no prosthetic or really a thin actress could have, No. There was a feeling for me of watching her on television that was a real balm. I was like, it makes me want to cry now. I'm so happy that they cast her. And, I think the authenticity of her in that role really transcends for me in this movie. And it makes me feel like as a mainstream Hollywood movie is like genuinely less cruel than most movies I've seen towards that.
That's very accurate.
And, it cuts both ways. It's like, really does. It humanizes fat people and then at the same time, never enough.
Yeah, I'd probably lean more towards negative in terms of like the character. And again, like she is a burden. Like that's how she's portrayed in the movie.
Yeah.
But again, like having Darlene Cates be the actress that was chosen, having it be that authentic, I think it's great. I do not think that that's negative at all. I just think that, there's enough pity stuff out there for fat people or self-loathing things for fat people that it would be very nice to have some things on the other side. I'm waiting for a fat princess.
We need a full portfolio. Oh my God, we need a fat princess.
That'd be so good.
Okay, I do have this idea for a movie called Space Princess where a princess, well, that actually doesn't make, it's not, you know what, this is completely irrelevant. All that to say is there's a fat person in it and she's fire. But I'll take it out this fat princess situation. What's the pitch for the movie?
I don't know.
Carolina,
you're princess.
No, you're on the spot. What's the dream pitch?
I don't know.
Like, is it like Cinderella and shit?
No. I want her to be a badass. I want her to have so many different talents and qualities.
Have you seen Bubberella?
No, I have
It's
not.
Bubberella. It's a movie called Bubberella, and it's I can't wait
Interesting. The cover alone, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it is.
There's Nazis.
I'm sorry, it's Blubberella. My bad. But yeah,
Half
you should
vampire,
watch it.
2.5 women.
Yeah, her footsteps cause explosions, and her dual swords are used against anyone who would make fun of her. So I don't know if you need to watch that, but
interesting. I'll have to put it on the list.
Getting to a princess right now.
But I really think that if there were to be a fat princess, I'd want her to literally be prove all the stereotypes wrong. I want her to be graceful. I want her to be athletic. Like all these things that people say that fat people can't be. I want her to be all those things. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. We get our we need to get our own heated rivalry. Like we need a fat show that goes just as big as heated rivalry.
Yes. Okay. God, heated rivalries. So I've been thinking it's been on my brain lately. I gotta rewatch it again.
I'll go watch it again. I watched it once and then I said, okay, I'm not going to read any of the books. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to read anything about it. And then I'm going to watch it again in like a year or 2 years. So it hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got to take, what's it called when you like take a break from like smoking or something?
A hiatus?
No, it's like a, oh my goodness.
Cold
No. It's like, so it hits more. It's like oh my gosh, it's literally on the tip of my tongue and I cannot think of it.
Okay, let's look it up for the audience. We're going to look it up and we're all going to feel this huge sense of satisfaction. So, okay, so how would you look it up? Like, what should I write?
Is the break from weed called? I don't know.
So that it hits harder?
A tolerance break.
A tolerance.
So your tolerance like lowers.
Tolerance break.
And now everyone who's been screaming tolerance break in their car is like, thank God they figured it out.
Oh my God.
Tell the people where they can find you online.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you don't have to look me up, you guys. You really don't have to do anything. You can find me at Hoja Lopez on Instagram, HojaLopez, Hoja Lopez. Yeah, and that's it.
All right. And I will have that link below, as well as the podcast socials and my personal socials. As always, a reminder that this is a completely independently created podcast. I do everything. So your support through likes, sharing, rating us 5 stars, commenting is very appreciated. And until next time, stay fat and fabulous. Bye.